A daily driver should be able to handle all of your tasks, no matter how fun some of them are. And well, we've got a nice one to test out this time. I'm Chris from AutoAcademics, and today we're going to take a look at the 2015 Mercedes-Benz CLS400. But first, we've got to find a quieter spot to talk. Our test vehicle today is a 2015 Diseño branded Cardinal Red Mercedes-Benz CLS400. Standard features include dual zone climate control, embrace interface with Mercedes-Benz apps, and interior ambient lighting. Also added were $20,000 worth of options that include the exterior paint, semi-aniline leather, 19-inch twin 5-spoke wheels, active multi-contour driver seat, air suspension, Harman Kardon sound system, rear side airbags, heated rear seats, premium package, parking assist package, and driver assistance package. Total M.S.R.P was $84,140. The styling of cars from luxury makes such as Mercedes-Benz is typically more evolutionary than revolutionary, especially when they're going from one generation to the next. But when Mercedes first introduced its coupe-style sedan CLS in 2004, I'm sure there were many purists who were ready to revolt. The nose of this car has not one, but two Mercedes badges in front, and one of them is huge. And if that doesn't catch all of your attention, Mercedes also decided to add just a little bit of jewelry in front as well. My favorite part, though, is the furrowed brow of those daytime running lights, as well as the optional LED headlights. Because this daily driver is very much a sports sedan, you get a staggered setup of 19-inch 255/35 series Pirelli P0 tires in the front with 285/30 series tires in the back. And poking out between those large alloy wheels, you can see the drilled and ventilated brake rotors that are being hugged by those Mercedes-labeled brake calipers. The rear end of this car looks pretty good too, with wraparound LED taillights, a stylish bumper with dual exhaust tips coming out the back, and then, as you might have seen earlier, the 15.3 cubic feet of space that's in this trunk is plenty for a set of golf clubs. Under the hood is a 3-liter direct-injected bi-turbo V6 engine that makes 329 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque. The engine is mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission with shift paddles and an eco start-stop system. All power is directed through the rear wheels. Fuel economy is rated at 20 miles per gallon city, 30 miles per gallon highway, with a combined rating of 24 miles per gallon. AutoAcademics saw an average of 21.8 miles per gallon during testing on premium fuel. Those climbing in back do have to watch their head, as even adults of average height, like I am, are still at risk. But once you get inside, you'll see that there's plenty of leg room, and believe it or not, headroom, and they even put in 3 cup holders because, well, 3 is better than 2. Now what makes the cup holder thing sort of amusing to me is that this car actually has captain-like chairs, which means there's only room for 2 people. Upon climbing into the driver's seat of this 2015 CLS, you'll notice that you'll need to recalibrate your senses, as anything that looks like metal is metal, anything that looks like wood is wood, and anything that feels like leather, such as these semi-aniline heated and ventilated front seats, say it with me, it is leather. The dash, climate control, and infotainment units might appear a little busy for those of us who would use this car strictly for special occasions like date nights, as opposed to a daily driver. But once your preferences are set, everything's slightly easier to use. Oh, and I mustn't fail to mention that the Harman Kardon sound system with Dolby 5.1 sounds pretty good too. In fact, about the only thing we didn't like were the cheap plastic factory door lock pins. All right, it's about that time. Let's take it for a drive. So I do have to admit that when I first got inside of this car and started messing around with some of the settings, I was not very impressed. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a very nice car, but I definitely questioned that $85,000 to $86,000 price tag. Let me explain. First and foremost, it was pretty challenging to set up everything in here. As I mentioned earlier, the controls are a little bit confusing. There's lots of buttons, lots of numbers. To be totally honest with you, I almost thought that I was looking at stuff that might have been in German. But once I actually figured that out, and I drive a lot of cars. I might not drive a lot of Mercedes, but I drive a lot of cars, and this one was probably the most challenging to set up. But again, once I got it set up, it actually was a piece of cake. Everything just kind of goes to whatever your settings are when you first turn on the car. All your seat positions and your radio stations and your comfort levels, all of that stuff just automatically turns on. As you can hear, this car is very quiet. Even though it's got those big wheels and tires on here, it drives nice and smooth, very quiet. It does have adjustable suspension. You've got a sport mode as well as a comfort mode for the suspension. And then you also have an efficient mode, or I guess an economy mode, as well as a sport mode for the engine. I like it in the sport stuff. Everything feels good, but sport is never overbearing. It's not too harsh, and to be totally honest, comfort isn't too bad either. Now, as with a lot of car companies today, the naming is a little confusing. This CLS400 has a 3-liter bi-turbo V6 engine that makes 329 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. It's made to a 7-speed automatic transmission, and it has decent power. One feature that this CLS has is the auto start-stop system. And what that does is it shuts off the engine when you come to a complete stop at, say, a stoplight or something like that. And Mercedes has done it right, because even though it doesn't shut off every single time, when it does decide to shut off, it does it quickly, it does it quietly, and then as soon as you lift off that brake pedal, it starts back up immediately, and you almost don't even notice it. Sometimes I actually have to sit and watch the tachometer to see when it actually shuts off and turns back on again. That's how good it is. That auto start stop system also allows this car to manage around 24 miles to the gallon. Now, while we personally haven't really seen any numbers quite that good, that's just because, you know, we do a lot of testing. With this car having a price tag in the mid $80,000 range, there's quite a bit of competition for it. You've got things from BMW, from Audi, from even exotic makes such as Maserati. And so that means that buyers will need to be rather discerning with their choices. Truth be told, I really wasn't that much of a fan of that first generation CLS due to its styling. But this 2015 model, I could drive this one every day. Only problem is, I gotta keep counting my pennies. For AutoAcademics, thanks for watching.